everyone, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Jen, and today I wanted to talk to you about sourdough starter. What it is, how to make it, and what to do with it once you have it made, and how to maintain your starter for the rest of your life. So let's dive in. So a sourdough starter is basically a yeast that you create from incorporating water and flour together, and from that you let it ferment for 7 days on your counter by a feeding process every day for 7 days, and then at 7 days you should have an active starter that you can use to make sourdough bread, buns, desserts, English muffins, like waffles, pancakes, anything, pretty much anything and everything. It is basically a yeast that you create yourself, and it is full of natural probiotics, which are very healthy for your gut lining. So it is a fermented yeast. And the great thing about it is once you have it made, you can keep it for your life. Like that's the only yeast you're ever going to need. So I mean, in a world like today, you're definitely might want to be looking into being a little bit more self-sustainable, self-sufficient and stuff like that, whereas like you might not be able to find yeast in the store. You can create your own at home. So how do you do it? So basically what you do is you're going to take a Tupperware or a mason jar or a bowl, something that you can put a lid on, and you're going to add 1 cup of flour, any kind of flour. I'm not sure about almond flours and nut flours and stuff like that. I don't know how that ferments, but for me, I just used all-purpose flour because I was trying it out and I didn't want to spend a lot of money on expensive flours in the beginning because it sounds kind of scary. It seems like I don't want to mess it up and I don't want to waste expensive flour practicing, essentially, right? So I just used all-purpose flour. You can use whole wheat flour, rye flour, ancient grain flour, anything that you can think of, einkorn flour. So you do 1 cup of flour to a half a cup to 1 cup of filtered water. So you want to make sure it's filtered water because you don't want the chlorine that can be in tap water interfering with the good bacteria that you're trying to create. So, and I say a half a cup to 1 cup of filtered water because it depends on how dry it is where you live, how humid it is where you live, the temperature of where it's fermenting. So basically what you're looking for in consistency is the consistency of a little bit thicker than pancake batter. So I'll show you the consistency of mine. So this is mine. I've named her Lola. You can see how bubbly she is. And because she's bubbly, that means that she's a very active starter. So this is the consistency you want. A little bit thicker than pancake batter. So you can eyeball it, or you can judge, not eyeball it, but you can judge for yourself. You just mix it and try and get that consistency, but pay attention to what you do. So whatever you start with is what you're always going to feed your starter every single day, those portions. So for me, I started my starter with 1 cup of flour and 3/4 cup of water, mixed it, and then that was perfect. I got the perfect consistency. So that's what you're going to do on the first day. You're going to put it in here, and then you're going to cover it, and you're going to let it sit out on your counter and ferment for 24 to 36 hours. So basically what you're looking for on the second day is a little bit of bubbles. Not going to have a whole lot. It's just a small fermentation. It's only been a day. So a couple bubbles. As long as you have a couple bubbles, you know it's rocking. So you're going to discard half that's in here. You basically want to save half a cup of this and discard the rest. And then you're going to feed that half a cup that you saved. So you put the half a cup back in and you're going to feed it. So you're going to feed it the same thing you did the day before. So 1 cup of flour and then a half to 1 cup of filtered water. You're going to mix it around till you get your pancake consistency or a little bit thicker. And then you're going to let it sit again for 24 hours. And you're going to continue that process for 7 days. So every morning or whenever you do this, every 24 hours, you're going to discard half, saving about a half a cup of your starter. Keep it in here, add 1 cup of flour, and then whatever your rate of filtered water is. So either half, 3/4, or a whole cup of water. And each day you're going to see if it's working, the bubbles that are going to be created. So My starter has been sitting in the fridge, so it's not really fermenting right now. I've slowed the process down, but you can see the bubbles that are there. So it's a healthy starter. So now, how do you maintain your starter and how do you cook with it? So basically, on the 7th day, it's good to cook with. You've got all the bubbles, it's feeding, it's ready. It's essentially ready to go. So there's a couple things that you can do. You can see this line of where my starter sits, but you also see this line, right? Actually, we'll turn it this way because that's a little bit better. So this is where my starter always sits, but I have this little line here. And that's where my starter rises up when it's hungry and it's eating what I fed it. And then when it's done eating, it'll rise back down to here. So the best time to use your starter is when it's up here because it's rising, it's hungry. So that rise is gonna make your products rise, your bread rise, your buns rise. So that's the best time to use your starter. But say you wake up and you want to make sourdough bread, all you have to do is feed your starter. So you would discard half, saving about a cup or half a cup, whatever, in here, feed it what you always would feed it, and let it set on your counter to feed. So then it's going to rise up. It takes about 4 hours. After 4 hours, it should be rising up to here. That is like the perfect time to feed it. But with it sitting on your counter, you can use it that day. Roughly after 4 hours after feeding, you can use it and you can make your bread. Now at this stage, you can also use the discard. So up until now, it wasn't really worth keeping. But now I keep a mason jar in my fridge of discard. So this is my sourdough starter discard. And I use this for pancakes, waffles, stuff like that. Cakes, stuff like that. And then I use my sourdough starter. I'll feed it and use it for bread, English muffins, pizza crust, everything. So you can basically use it for every single thing. The last thing I wanted to say was maintaining it. So like I said, if you decide that you want to take a break from sourdough stuff, your cupboards and counters are full of sourdough, you want to take a break, just put it in the fridge. And then pay attention to when the last time it was fed, because you'll just want to feed it once a week. Take it out, feed it, let it ferment overnight, and then the next day put it back in your fridge and you're good to go for another week. That will slow the fermentation down, then you can keep it active that way. But if you want to use it every couple days, just keep it on your counter to ferment, feed it every day. So if you have any other questions on sourdough starter and how to start one, please leave a comment below, a question below, anything like that. Definitely do it. This has become so addicting. Like, I am addicted to sourdough now. It just is a whole different depth of flavor that is amazing. So I will be sharing some of my sourdough recipes that I've already come up with in the short time that I've started this. It is super easy. I promise you it's easy. Just get a starter going and you can learn from there. So thank you so much for tuning in and stopping by my kitchen today. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.